Today, we're going to unpack a law that really changed the whole game between citizens and the government here in India, the Right to Information Act of 2005. People often call it a superpower, and in the next few minutes, we're going to find out exactly why, and more importantly, how you can use it. So let's just start with a really simple but kind of mind-blowing question. What if you could ask why that road on your street is still full of potholes? Or exactly how much money was spent on that new park? Or even get a copy of your own exam paper, and the government was legally forced to give you an answer? Well, that's not a what if. That is the core promise of the RTI Act. But hang on, why do we even need a law like this? Well, it all boils down to one simple truth. For a democracy to actually work, for it to be a real democracy, the people can't be kept in the dark. You could say that information is pretty much the lifeblood of a healthy, accountable government. And you don't have to dig deep to see how powerful this law is meant to be. It's right there in the first few lines. The preamble, the mission statement of the Act, says it right out loud. This is here to fight corruption and to make sure the government answers to us, the people it's supposed to serve. Okay, so this right to know, what does it actually let you do? Let's break down the powers this Act literally puts in your hands, because, spoiler alert, it's way more than just asking a few questions. First of all, the definition of information under this law is huge. I mean, seriously, look at this list from Section 2F. We're talking about almost any material the government has: records, emails, contracts, samples, data on a computer. The idea is simple. If a public authority holds it, you can probably ask for it. And the law gets super specific about what you can do. You can literally go and inspect public works or government files with your own eyes. You can demand certified copies of official documents. You can even ask for a certified sample of the materials being used to build a bridge or get data handed to you on a disk. It's a very active, hands-on right. And here's where it gets even better. The Act doesn't just want you to ask for information. It actually flips the script. It says government bodies should make transparency their default setting. Section 4 forces them to proactively publish important info, like who does what, how they spend money, and so on, so you might not even have to ask in the first place.
All right, so we get the what and the why. Now for the most important part, right? The how. Let's open up the Citizens Toolkit and look at the simple, step-by-step guide to actually using this thing.
Believe it or not, filing an RTI is designed to be super easy. You just write down what you want to know, be as specific as you can, pay a tiny fee, usually just 10 rupees, and send it to the right person. Every government department is legally required to have a designated public information officer, or PIO, to handle these requests.
Now, this next part is absolutely crucial, so listen closely. You never, ever have to explain why you want the information. Section 6, subsection 2 makes that crystal clear. Your reason is your business. The right to know is your right, period. You don't need to justify your curiosity to anyone.
Once your application is in, a clock starts ticking. The Public Information Officer has a strict legal deadline, 30 days. And that's not a suggestion, it's a hard limit. It's there to make sure your request doesn't just get lost in a pile of paperwork forever. But in the most serious cases, that timeline shrinks a lot. If the information you're asking for involves someone's life or liberty, we're talking about things like a potential wrongful arrest or a threat to someone's safety, the PIO has to respond within just 48 hours. It shows the law puts human life and freedom above all else. Okay, so this power sounds almost unlimited, right? Can you ask for absolutely anything? Well, not quite. The Act is smart. It creates a balance between our right to know and the government's need to protect some very sensitive information. Let's take a look at where those lines are drawn. So Section 8 of the Act lists out the exemptions, and they're pretty logical, right? Information can be denied if it would hurt national security, or if it's a company's trade secret, or if it's a major invasion of someone's privacy without any real public benefit. These are common sense guardrails to prevent the law from being misused. But here is the absolute masterstroke of this law. Even for that protected information, there's one final test. Section 8, subsection 2 basically says if the public's need to know is greater than the harm of revealing the secret, then the information should be given. In other words, public interest can actually trump secrecy. So what happens if a government official just says no, or worse, doesn't reply at all? Is it game over? Absolutely not. The Act has a built-in enforcement system with real teeth to hold those officials accountable. And you don't need to hire an expensive lawyer or get tangled up in the regular court system. The RTI Act created its own powerful, independent watchdogs, the information commissions. You can think of them as the final referees, the guardians of your right to information. The appeal process is designed to be a clear two-step ladder. If your first request is shot down or ignored, your first appeal is to a more senior officer in that same department. And if you're still not satisfied with their answer, you can take it to the top, a second and final appeal with the Information Commission itself. And these commissions aren't just for show. If they find an official has blocked information without a good reason, they can slap a personal penalty on that officer. And that penalty starts at 250 rupees for every single day of delay. Yeah, that daily fine keeps adding up, all the way to a maximum penalty of 25,000 rupees. And here's the kicker. This is not a fine on the department. It can be taken directly out of the official's salary. Now that's a pretty powerful reason to take a citizen's right to know seriously. So, there you have it. The Right to Information Act is so much more than a law. It's a real practical tool for transparency. It gives you the power, the process, and the penalties to back it all up. The only question left is, now that you have the key, which door are you going to unlock first?